Ladies, puberty, PMT, pregnancy, the menopause. Yes, your hormones have been taking you for a ride for years. Hot flushes on the bus, menopausal meltdowns in the office. Whatever those hormones have made you do, Jenny Smith and Kate Bauss are here to lend a sympathetic ear. Why not write in and share your hormonal hell with the girls? Don't worry, they've heard it all before. It's time to put those hormones in the firing line. This is Dear Hormones. Welcome to your safe space, ladies. Coming up on today's show, a hormonal clash over a Mother's Day card, workplace brain fog misery, and a catalogue of menopausal errors.
Hello and welcome back to Dear Hormones. Hi, Kate.
Hello, Jenny.
Oh, how are you feeling? Because we've had a big party this week, haven't we, on Saturday?
I feel all right today. Yesterday, less so. How about you?
I'm not surprised, Kate. You were really giving it some on the dance floor, to be honest.
I love a dance. I thought I was quite restrained for me.
Yeah, actually, you were quite restrained. I mean, there was a moment when we were spinning each other around and it was just in someone's kitchen, so it was a little bit dangerous. Anyway, good. I'm glad you're feeling better. I think we should crack on.
Straight in there.
Do you agree?
Letter number one.
I do have a hormone update for you, but I'll tell you after this letter. Okay, so letter number one is called Mother's Day Card, and it comes from Susan in Cambridge. She says, Dear Jenny and Kate, I'm nearly 52 years old and have been menopausal for a good few years now. I'm on HRT, but this episode I'm about to tell you about happened just before I started taking it. Peak hormones raging through my body. My eldest son was in his first year at university, and when he used to come home in the holidays, I was alarmed at how lazy and selfish he'd become. Clothes all over the floor, washing up in the sink, dishwasher never empty, bin overflowing. It's like he was wearing a special pair of glasses that rendered all of the above invisible. Now,
I would like a pair of glasses like that myself.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you?
Yes, I was just thinking after your letter, a few weeks ago, where you had the rage on the over the messy bedroom. This probably resonates quite a lot with you, doesn't it? Already,
very much so.
Okay, she says, looking back, he wasn't acting out of the ordinary at all, but rather being a very typical 18-year-old. He never had any money, and I always seemed to be bailing him out of one thing or another. Anyway, Mother's Day was just around the corner, and I didn't think it was unreasonable for me to expect a card and a small present to show his love and respect for everything I do for him. Quite right.
Definitely.
He'd already told me that he wasn't able to come home for Mother's Day due to his dwindling finances, but I'd spoken to him on the phone numerous times and dropped many hints about posting me a card and present. So when Mother's Day came along, I was more than a little bit peeved when nothing arrived in the post.
Oh.
Tut tut.
I hope he's got a very good excuse here.
I couldn't help myself, and I phoned him up in a fit of rage. Hi, Mum. Me, high-pitched and overly expressive. Oh, hi, Martin. Not his real name. Are you okay? Happy Mother's Day, he said. Oh, so you did remember. It's just that your card hasn't arrived, and I know you would have sent me one, what with everything I do for you, and seeing as you know how important things like that are to me. Yes, I did send one. Me cutting in, but obviously not in enough time, Martin. Mother's Day is always on a Sunday, so it needed to be here by Saturday. Oh, yeah, don't worry, it should arrive. And did you post the gift separately?
Oh, no.
I knew there was no gift, but the passive-aggressive bitch was in full swing by this point. For God's sake, is that all you care about? No, it's not all I care about, but caring about things is clearly not something you do. This is unbelievable, Martin. Imagine if I forgot your birthday. Oh. And on it went. I think he might have hung up in the end. I honestly can't remember because I was breathing into a paper bag with a puce face by that point. The next day, a Mother's Day card dropped through the letterbox. He had been telling the truth all along, although he'd clearly sent it too late to arrive on time. No present, of course, and I spent the entire next day stewing about the fact he'd been off to play a relatively expensive game of golf, but couldn't be fucked to put his hand in his pocket for his long-suffering mum. Kids.
Oh,
Oh, awkward.
a little bit awkward. Susan, you do deserve a present, can I say? You do.
Yes.
And Martin, Mother's Day's coming up in not too long. You've got a couple of months. You've got 2 months to get yourself organised this year.
Yeah, that's true, actually, Martin. You better do better this time.
It wouldn't even hurt if it arrived 2 months early. If I were you, I would get straight to the shop now, buy something, post it.
I love the fact he's told he hasn't got any money, can't come home, dwindling finances, can't afford, just a tiny token present, but he can go and play golf. And that is expensive, isn't it? A round of golf is not cheap. But he's gone off and played a round of golf. Yeah.
Oh.
He's found the finances for that. I really get this. Do you remember, I think, haven't there been a story? Didn't I share a story similar? You won't. Can I just say Kate won't remember? Kate won't remember. We've just been talking about all the letters that we've read out on the podcast, and she's literally got a blank face.
I do have a notoriously bad memory. And it's not that the letters aren't incredible, but I just have a terrible memory. Always have done.
I'm trying to think. There was
Very good short-term memory, terrible long-term
Yes.
memory. Anything that happened more than 2 months ago, it's unlikely I'll remember.
Oh, I know. I was annoyed, wasn't I? Do you remember when I didn't get I didn't get a birthday card from my baby?
I do. I do remember that. You were in Austria or something, I think, at the time.
Yeah, so
There
I
you go.
kind of do sort of get where she's coming from. Oh, I totally get where she's coming from. Yeah, Martin, do better.
I do as well. I think you've got a right to be annoyed, Susan, on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just love the way she was, I can just hear that conversation, when she went, oh, I know you definitely would have sent me one, but it just hasn't arrived. And, just like knowing full well he hasn't and just having to get it, get one over on him.
Oh, but she has obsessed it, and it is the menopausal thing that for her, this became a big thing. And for him, he was just thinking, well, I've sent the card, I've done it.
Yeah.
Tick that one.
Yeah.
Mother's Day sorted.
Yeah.
So that would have been completely out of the blue for him, her reaction.
Yeah.
I've got letter number 2 here. This one is entitled Head Teacher, and it has been written by a head teacher. She's called Maria, and Maria writes, Dear Jenny and Kate, I am a head teacher at a primary school in North London. I love listening to your podcast. I've just turned 43, and I'm sure I'm going through something, but I'm not writing regarding my individual experiences today. Maybe more of that another time.
Yes, please, Maria. You know where we are.
Anytime. I thought you might be interested to know that we are currently arranging menopause training for all of our school staff. The reason for this is that emotional well-being lies at the heart of our school development plan. The main focus of this is the children, but children cannot be supported with their emotional well-being if staff and parents can't help themselves first in order to be able to help the children in turn. The vast majority of staff are women, but men need to know about the menopause too, and I have told them that they will all be in the training. We teach boys about periods in school, so it is the same principle.
Oh, this is so good, isn't it?
What amazing news, Maria. Absolutely fantastic. I think all schools should be doing this.
Yes.
And primary schools as well. This is a primary school.
Yeah, right.
2 wonderful ladies who used to be mums at our school will be delivering the training, which will cover what menopause is, perimenopause, symptoms, things you can do, treatment, etc. We are all agreed that it is so important that everyone is aware of the science, but also the emotional impact of menopause. My hope is that we can make a real difference to understanding about this important topic in our primary school, just as you are making a difference with your podcast, Jenny and Kate. My very best wishes, Maria.
Oh, I love Maria. Thank you so much for ringing. Sorry, Maria. Thank you for writing. everything she says there is absolutely bang on, isn't it? This is what we talk about all the time. Everybody needs to know about it. And the fact that she's recognised it, I mean, this is great that she's that age herself and she's the head teacher. She knows what's coming. You know, she says that she's had a few little things herself and she knows the kind of impact that it can have and will have on her staff.
Yeah.
And just what she said there, if the staff aren't in the right place, those children are going to suffer.
Yeah.
You know, it's so important. I mean, it should be something that's rolled out, I imagine, in all schools, shouldn't it? But again, I know that they've got their, hands full with everything else. But I love that she's so forward thinking and is going to make a real difference, especially with getting the men in there as well, and so that the teachers, the male teachers, can support the female teachers through everything. I can't imagine being a teacher, being a menopausal teacher, actually, that's what I want to say, because I found it hard enough being a menopausal photographer where I can pick and choose my hours, but a menopausal teacher...
when you're surrounded by...
stress all day long. Because you've been a teacher, Kate.
I have been a teacher.
In a classroom. Could you imagine being menopausal and then having to handle 30 primary school children feeling that kind of rage or emotions or tired and irritable? Imagine trying to do your job under those circumstances.
It would be really challenging. I mean, I felt, even so, I've been a teacher for a long time and now I'm a tutor instead. So I'm not in classes with lots and lots of children. And I have to say, even not being menopausal, sort of as I got older, I found it does get harder being surrounded by 30 little people, all with very different needs. And there is a lot of noise.
Yes.
And I think being menopausal, it would be a big challenge. So how incredible, Maria, that you're doing this to just increase awareness amongst all of your staff about the impacts of menopause. And there's a PS here as well, Jenny.
Yeah.
So Maria has written, PS, we currently have a team working on a menopause policy.
Oh.
So that's just wonderful.
Isn't it?
But there should be menopause policies surely in place, really, in all
Everywhere.
workplaces,
Everywhere.
in every workplace, but there aren't at the moment.
No. It's very slowly changing, isn't it? In fact, I've noticed it myself because I photograph at a few law firms and 2 or 3 of them, they have these big bulletin boards, and I've noticed that there's been signs about menopause training today or menopause, around Menopause World Awareness Day. There was a big event going on in one of the law firms. And I know that my friend who works at Ferrero UK, they're implementing a menopause policy there too. So it's definitely changing, which is so vital. You hear such... terrifying stories. I know we read a lot of stories on here about people getting losing their temper, and they can be quite funny. But there are some very, very serious stories out there as well for menopausal women, where if there isn't that support in place, it could have tragic consequences. So well done, Maria, and thank you so much for writing into us. Especially as your busy head teacher, the fact you found the time to write that letter is hats off, hats off to you too.
Amazing.
Yeah. So speaking of, menopause, Kate.
Are you going to tell us about what's been happening to you, Jenny?
Well, just a little update, because I read that letter a couple of weeks ago about the Apple shop. I forgot my PIN number 5 times within the space of 3 or 4 minutes, and various other things that had been happening to me. I didn't actually make an appointment, but I've since photographed a top menopause specialist. And so I was having a casual chat with her, and she asked me what dose I'm on. So when I switched, which I've talked about, I switched from the gel to the spray because I felt like I wasn't absorbing the gel properly. And again, some of my symptoms were creeping back in. And I switched from that to the spray. And my GP told me that the equivalent of my 4 pumps of gel was 2 sprays of my new product. So I've been doing that, Kate. I've been on 2 sprays now for a few months, right? We're talking a few months. And during that time, obviously, we've had the Apple shop incident, but lots of other things as well, which I've sort of told you about, but I won't really talk about on the podcast. But I definitely felt not myself in any way again. Saw the menopause specialist as I was photographing her. What's your dose? I told her 2 sprays, and she just looked at me and went, that's not enough.
Oh.
And I said, oh, why? She goes, well, that's like, that's the equivalent of 2 pumps of gel, which is what I started on when I very first started taking HRT. I've been basically on half dose for months.
Oh,
and
goodness.
honestly, when I can tell you that everything is falling into place now that I know that, now I can look back at all the things that were creeping in, my mood, how impatient I've been getting, how frustrated I've been getting, you know, I now realise why. Anyway, I have explained this to my family and they're very grateful.
And you felt an immediate change.
Yeah, so I've now been on the correct dose for about 5 days, and honestly, for the first time about 3 days ago, I suddenly realised I was myself again. And the things that have been really winding me up, that I've actually been fixated on over the last few months, I actually don't care about. So that's what the estrogen, the lack of estrogen, did to me. It's really frightening.
It's really frightening. And I'm just thinking about women, you know, 100 years ago, and many women around the world now who don't have access to HRT.
Yeah. And they're just putting up with it.
Yeah. For you to talk about what a massive difference it makes to you.
Yeah.
And I have seen you these last few weeks not being
you
quite
know.
yourself.
Yeah, you know. Thank goodness I photographed that lady, because I would still be not on enough, put it that way. I may not have had a family by Christmas, put it that way.
You did talk, Jenny, didn't you, about a love song to HRT?
I did.
Are you feeling the need to...
It's happening, Kate. I'm definitely going to make that happen. Okay, so watch this space, everybody. Watch this space. Right, let's crack on with our next letter. Who's reading this now? It's me. Okay, letter 3. It's called, this is a good one. It's called My Week in Menopause. And it comes from, no name. Let's quickly give her a name. This is from Jane, and she's in, where's she from, Kate? She is in
Oxford.
Manchester. She's in Manchester. Hi, Jane. Okay, here she goes. Dear Jenny and Kate, thought you'd like to hear how the menopause has affected me in the space of a few days. I work for myself as a videographer, and for the first time ever, I turned up to a job without 2 crucial leads for my lights, resulting in a very expensive Uber to pick them up and deliver to me. The next day, whilst running a little bit late for another job, I arrived at the train station without my phone. The address of the company I was going to was on my phone, so I had to run back to the house to get it. When I got there, the phone was nowhere to be seen. It was then I realised it was in my back pocket all along. The same week saw me on my way to a night out, again running a little behind time. But when I got to the train station, I had an unbearable panic that I'd left the straighteners on. Well, actually, 90% of me knew I had in fact turned them off. But you know what the menopause is like. The remaining 10% saw me miss my train and head home to double check the house wasn't going to burn down. I'd turned them off, of course.
Have you done that before, Jenny?
Yes, I have. That was one of my early ones. Yeah. Finally, a couple of days later, I was at work and had yet another panic about the straighteners. This time, I was in the middle of a job and couldn't get home to check. So I texted my neighbour and asked her to go and look for me instead. I'd turned them off, obviously. This was the second time in a month that I'd asked her to do this. And the last thing that happened was a couple of weeks ago when I went away for the weekend. I set up the cat feeder, but hadn't actually turned it on. Thankfully, I had a nagging feeling about what I'd done and yet again asked my neighbour to check for me. Thank goodness I did, because I had in fact forgotten to turn it on. My poor neighbour. I honestly don't know what's going on with me at the moment because I've been on HRT for a few years now, but if this continues, I think I'd better go back for another chat with the GP. I relate to every single line in that letter. Actually, some of that stuff has been going on for me in the last few months with the not enough HRT, but all of that stuff happened when I very, very first started going through my symptoms, when I thought I had the early onset dementia. Yeah. Exactly that, scatty walking into a room, why am I here? Where's my phone? It was in her back pocket. She had it all the time. I feel sorry for you, Jane.
Oh, Jane. Well, maybe the same. Maybe it is like with Jenny that you're saying, Jane, that you need to go back and chat to the GP. So hopefully, if you do, maybe your dose might be up as well. Yeah, Jane. Maybe it will be. Yeah, what dose? What dose are you on? For you.
Has your GP also told you to take 2 sprays? Because it's not enough. I'm just going to tell you now, it's not enough. Oh, and also, Kate, because we were at a party, weren't we, on Saturday, and we were talking to a lovely GP who's really up on the menopause, and she kept saying that. She goes, "Oh yeah, just up the dose." Just up the dose. Yeah. So yeah.
Very very disorientating, the whole thing. I mean, I was going to say with the straighteners that she kept on thinking that she'd left them on and then hadn't, and then it happened again, you know, thinking it's in her mind. But then with the cat feeder, that she thought that she hadn't. What do you do with a cat feeder? Sorry.
Oh, I've got. Yes, I have one. I have a cat feeder. So I bet she was going away for the weekend or for the night. Yeah,
How does this work?
Yeah, well, I don't know about hers, but mine, you have to. There's a little underneath the cat feeder. There's a little switch that will turn it on. So you can put all the food. You put the food in these little containers, and you turn this big dial, which is a time dial. So it'll come. It'll pop up in like 9 hours or something. But it won't pop up if you haven't actually turned it on underneath.
Right.
So she hadn't actually turned, so the cat was going to go hungry.
So it just sort of lets bits of food out as and when.
No, it just like pops up. So it's just like a box, and it pops up, and then all the food's in there.
How clever!
Oh,
how clever!
So you don't have a cat,
we don't have a cat. We have a gecko, and I quite like to have a similar thing to feed the gecko. Very handy. Anyway, that's an aside. But what I was saying was very disorientating to be thinking that you've not done something and then find out that it was all okay. But then there is the time, like with the cat feeder, when she hadn't, and that's so then you just never quite know where you're at, whether you have or you haven't.
Second guessing yourself all the time, and that is frustrating.
The whole thing.
It does, and the paranoia that you've done it once before, so have I done it this time? You know, did I turn the straighteners off? I remember I just set up a little mantra for myself when this was happening to me. I would unplug the straighteners, and out loud to myself I would say, "I have turned off the straighteners."
Oh, that's good. Record yourself saying it as well, then you can listen back to it.
Yes, I should put it on my phone. I should film myself on my phone. Go, I have turned off the straighteners, so that when I have to panic, I'm like, or whenever I've got my phone, I should always say where I'm going to put it. I'm now going to put my phone in my back pocket.
I feel like we all need just a bit of reassuring sometimes. You know, it's because of that fact that it can be so disorientating.
Yes.
You feel you lose touch with the reality a little bit and are doubting yourself so much. And we all just need somebody to say to us, it's okay. You're doing really well. You're doing a really good job. So all you women out there.
Yeah. You're
doing a brilliant job. Jenny, you're doing a brilliant job.
Thank you, Kate. And now, can I tell you, if you'd said that exact line to me 7 days ago, I'd be crying. It would have got me crying. Because, if you're not feeling quite yourself and someone puts their arm around you, just like makes you bawl your eyes out and someone's kind. Yeah. So that would totally have got me when I was on half dose. Right. Our last letter, Kate.
Thank you, Jane, very much for that letter. This last letter is called Brain Fog Misery.
Oh, so similar thing. Yes.
It sounds like it. This is from Amy in London. Dear Jenny and Kate, a couple of years into the perimenopause, and just when I think I have sleepless nights, prolific sweating and hormonal mood swings buttoned down, then creeps in the dreaded fog. At first, I honestly thought I was starting to lose my marbles. Why would names never come to me, or work meetings feel so overwhelming? I will set the scene. I am a senior marketeer, often presenting trends and strategy in retail to audiences of 200 plus people.
Oh my God, that's terrifying. Would you be able to do that?
No, I could give assemblies to 200 plus children.
Oh.
But I could...
Right, I'm now imagining being menopausal in front of 200 people. That's stressing me right out.
But not grown-ups, I think. A few months ago, I bowl up to one of these, whilst also finalising negotiations on a house purchase, which we all know is notoriously one of the most stressful things to do.
Yeah.
Arrive, chatting to peers, some pretty important people in the industry, many commenting on looking forward to hearing my presentation.
What-oh?
Pressure's on, Amy. Phone rings, and we have the opportunity to make another offer on a house we thought we had lost.
What?
Oh, in the middle of it all.
Oh my God. I mean, take out the menopause out of this, and it is a stressful situation, isn't it?
Massively. What then happens is I can't find any of the emails I need to agree the numbers, or even remember the name or find the number of the estate agent.
Oh no.
TikTok. 15 minutes to my presentation, and my brain fog says, "What are you presenting?"
Awful. When you do have an absolute blank, complete blank.
I've actually got a slightly crunchy, nervous feeling in my tummy for you at this point.
Yes.
That would be so frightening. You've got a room filled with people. You're about to do a huge presentation and you can't even think what it is, and you've got a house deal going on and you can't find any of that. Oh dear, you poor lady.
Awful.
I can't remember anything I am going to say. So now I start to form huge dark rings of sweat on my smart silk shirt.
Oh my God.
I literally felt like hiding in the toilets. In fact, I did for a bit.
Oh, well done. The sweat though, because that's hard to get out, isn't it?
Well, it's kind of impossible.
Yeah.
I hope they had a hand dryer and it wasn't just... Did they have a hand dryer in there, Amy?
Did they?
Oh, really hope
But then
so.
that would make you hotter. That would make it worse, wouldn't it?
Madly texting from the toilet to get an offer in and agree to it with my husband. Now I have 5 minutes left to my presentation. Open up my PowerPoint presentation. Still sat on the toilet. Was madly trying to dry my armpits and shirt.
Oh, I can't bear it. I'm so stressed. My stomach is tight.
It's all a blur and none of it is staying in my head. Flushed cheeks from embarrassment, I climb onto the stage, arms tightly at my side. They introduce me and my slides appear on the giant screen. Are you ready? I'm feeling so tense. I hope this is going to go okay. And as if by magic, I flow through the presentation seamlessly.
Oh,
Lots of interested questions from the audience and applause.
oh, Amy, you did it.
A few hours later, we find out we got the house. Yay!
Thank God.
I feel like I want to crack open a bottle for you right
so
now.
do I, shall we?
Oh. Much wine was drunk that night, as you can imagine, but the dreaded fog is still with me and I am learning to live with it. In fact, I'm very happy when I'm presenting now and forget something to say. To some of the more mature women in the audience, you will understand that I am still just as good at my job. I just can't always find the words. From Amy.
Yeah. Well done, Amy. What a nice way. Well, what a clever way of just accepting it.
Yeah.
I think that's something I don't think I'm ever able to do. I'm not good at accepting. I would just stew and worry and fret, but that is exactly the right way to go about it, isn't it? And just say, okay, I can't always find the words.
Yeah.
They'll come to me. I'm still amazing. I'm still good at my job. I can still do all of these things. It's just that I'm going to have these moments.
That's it. And women at that
it.
age have so much to contribute.
Yeah.
Because of all their experience and all of their insightfulness. And it is just a shame that not all workplaces recognise that.
Yeah.
And every workplace needs a menopause policy like Maria's school is going to have.
Yeah.
But Amy, that's fantastic that you're able to recognise that you're still just as good at your job and probably better than you ever were, actually.
Yes.
I'm going
Yes,
to
Kate.
say, yes.
Yes.
I mean, if you're able to go up there and feeling, after having had that experience in the toilets and having had all of that going on with your house and the slides appear and you're not quite sure what you're going to say and then still you manage to get it right, you are a legend at your job, an absolute legend.
Yeah. Yes, you nailed it. I don't feel I'll have done that. You know, I'm so terrified at doing these sort of things. It takes me right back to when I was at university and I had to do some presentation. And I was so terrified about having to do a presentation in front of this class. I just didn't turn up. And it was something to do with my degree, like in terms of the points that I needed. I don't even know to this day what happened after that because I think I blocked it out.
Did you get your degree?
Well, I did get my degree. I don't know what happened, how I managed to get the points back because I never acknowledged it. I never saw a lecture about it. I just did not go to university that day because I just couldn't bear it. You know, the idea of standing up in front, I know we can do this podcast because we can stop and start whenever we like, can't we, Kate? And I can get up and do karaoke. But if someone said to me, right, Jenny, go and get on that stage now and tell them all about photography, I would be violently sick.
Oh.
Yeah.
Do you know, maybe you need to do this. You need to face this fear.
No.
And once you've done it once. But I've seen you get up before and present one of your, you know, when you did an exhibition. Yeah.
Yes.
And you introduced that exhibition.
Yeah.
Supremely well. You were amazing. I know you weren't talking.
I was terrified,
Were
Kate.
you?
Absolutely terrified. I would have done anything to get out of that, actually, but I just knew there wasn't any way I could because it was my exhibition. So I had to say something. But thankfully, there was another woman who said something first, remember, which kind of like eased me into it. And I did have it all written down on my phone. But I feel like I just ramble, a bit like I do on the podcast, and not really make the right point. I just sort of speak, words come out, but I'm not really listening to what I'm saying. I'm just sort of getting through it. Yes. Well done, Amy, all I can say. Because now imagine if that had been me at the exhibition, right? But I was also brain fog, sweaty armpits, going through a major house deal. I mean, that's the kind of pressure. And I didn't have 200 people there either. She's a legend.
She is a legend.
Yeah, she's an absolute legend. Okay, well, listen, I hope everyone had a lovely Christmas because we've had a little 2-week break. So I hope that you all had everything you desired in Santa's sack. Because I think this is going to come out sort of 2 weeks in January, or probably second week in January. So, Kate, shall we pretend we've had a good Christmas? Did you have a nice time?
My Christmas was amazing. Yeah.
What are you hoping to have had in your Christmas, on your Christmas day, that we can then discuss in next week's episode to see if it actually did happen?
I really need a dressing gown. That's it, really. That's all I want. A dressing gown. I'd like to have some homemade cards. You talking about homemade cards? That would be lovely.
Yeah.
Just hugs and kisses.
Oh, she's a simple beast.
Very simple. But dressing gown, I had a dressing gown a year ago and it just hasn't worked out for me. Just gotta it's a bit heavy and it's a sort of toweling kind of one. Not right.
Okay.
It was a posh, expensive one, but I just want like a cheaper one that's very light.
Okay, because you're getting quite hot now these days, aren't you, Kate? You need something a little bit cooler, maybe a little cotton number.
How about you, Jenny? What would you like in Santa's sack?
Well, in Santa, do you know, I actually don't have anything that I want at all, although a homemade card would be really nice. Honestly, that is all I would like. So I'll let you know if I get it. And on that note, I hope all of you had a really good Christmas and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye-bye.
That was Dear Hormones with Jenny Smith and Kate Bauss. If you've got a story to share, email the girls at dearhormones@yahoo.com or they're @dearhormones on Instagram. Until next time.